Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. I always remind everyone that these are free macro meetups, but if you ever want to or inclined to donate any amount to our African film project, it's on our website, macroboticglobalinstitute.org. And we're having the next event I'm teaching at a spa in California, but after that, we're having a in-person fundraising dinner down at the beach in Cape May, working with this really wonderful macrobiotic chef called Contrano from Italy. So that will be mid-July, and really excited about that. So we'll keep you posted. So if you're in the area or wanting to travel to the area, it'll be Cape May in July. We'll post the date soon. So I'd like to introduce Alice. Alice is a longtime friend, longtime macrobiotic teacher, and she used to run the Toronto Macrobiotic Center. So she has lots of experience, not only as a separate center, running the separate center, but also hosting all the macrobiotic teachers throughout the years. And she's really great at cooking, but also great at pickle making. So I asked her to come on, and she had some rice bran that she got from Blue Moon Acres Farm, and she's going to explain to us how to make rice bran pickles. But feel free, I'm going to keep you guys muted until the end, and then we can ask her questions about what she's done. And you all should have the recipe that I emailed. You okay, Alice?
I'm good. I'm just trying to see what okay. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm seeing on the screen. Okay, but if anybody, okay, this is Nuka brand pickles are a type of a way of fermenting vegetables, and which is very different, and like it's not like dill pickles or even sauerkraut. It's like completely Japanese and very weird, and it requires a lot of mindfulness and old style kind of perseverance and patience to do these pickles. So I don't know how many of you are going to embark on this mission. But first of all, are all of you familiar with pickling in general? You know, Brian, you took my course, didn't you? Yeah. So pickles are really, really important, like naturally fermented vegetables are really important for the microbiome. And we all know about the microbiome, like it's all over the place. And, mainstream, they all talk about the microbiome. They talk about, what are those things called? Probiotics. So in macrobiotics, we already have like built-in fermented items that we have on a daily basis, like miso soup. Like the miso is fermented and it's really good for the microbiome. And then it's recommended that you take sauerkraut or some other naturally fermented pickle like every day. Plus we have umeboshi plums. Plus we have shoyu that we season our food with. Those are all fermented foods. So if you're eating a good, standard macrobiotic diet, you're getting plenty of fermented foods. So in Japan, there's in Asian cultures, there's like a million different types of fermenting. Just like with kimchi, for example, there's not just one way to make kimchi. There's like myriad ways to make kimchi. But one of the really interesting pickles is called Nuka pickles or Nuka doku. So these are made from fermented rice bran, basically rice bran. That's what's removed from the rice when it's not when it's hulled, when it's polished. Okay, that's the rice bran that comes off the rice. And interesting fact about rice bran, you know that you know what they make vitamin B vitamins from? Rice bran. So we polished all our rice and we started eating white rice. And then in order to get the B vitamins that we don't have in our body, they use the rice bran to make B vitamins. So eating whole grain brown rice gives you all the vitamins that you need. Anyway, I'm going to show you the weird end product. If you're not familiar with Nuka doku pickles. So this is what it looks like. It looks like sand. Okay. And in here, I buried a cucumber. So I'm going to take out the cucumber now. It's been buried for 24 hours. So here's my cucumber. small cucumber. And I'm going to remove the excess rice bran and see how it's gotten soft. So I think this cucumber is ready, and I'm going to rinse it off and put it on a dish. Okay, sorry about that. So here's my cucumber. I'm going to slice it. Okay. I don't know if you can see this. So it's gotten, the salt has penetrated because it's no longer crisp. It's gotten, it's no longer all white on the inside. It's gotten, not discolored, but it's become greener on the inside. So that means it's fermented. So this rice bran bed is what, first of all, you have to make the rice bran bed, and then you have to let it ferment for about 2 or 3 weeks. And so you have to, I'll tell you about that in a minute. You bury vegetables in here for 24 hours or longer, depending on the vegetable. And then when you take it out, it's pickled. And so now we're going to show you how to make the rice bran bed. Okay. So you have the recipe. Do you have the recipe that I've?
Yeah, I mailed it to everybody.
Okay, so I got rice bran. I went to Blue Moon Acres with Sherry. And I'm not gonna make this. I'm gonna just go talk you through it. So I got this rice bran from Blue Moon Acres. Was it free, Sherry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we didn't pay for it. So I brought a bag home and I put it in my cold cellar, and then after a while, I saw rice bran all over my cold cellar and a mouse got in. So I threw out the rice bran. But when I went to see Sherry the next time, she had a bag that she hadn't used. So this is actually Sherry's rice bran from Blue Moon Acres. So this is what the rice bran looks like. It's like it's powdery, okay? And it's kind of damp. It feels kind of damp. Feels like flour. Like white, like all-purpose flour. So what we do, first of all, is we take the rice bran and we lightly roast it I use a cast iron pan, but you can use a stainless steel pan, and just lightly roast it until it becomes fragrant, just to take out excess moisture. And then we put that rice bran in a bowl. And then in the meantime, we soak some kombu. Everybody's familiar with kombu, right? We soak that with boiling water, and we let it soak for a while until it's soft. And we also dissolve the salt. We have salt. So salt is what creates the fermentation. We have, this recipe calls for 3/8 of a cup of salt, but you can half this recipe, because this Nuka that I made is half of this recipe. I gave the other half to my sister-in-law today. It made a ton of Nuka doku, which means rice bran bed. So then we take the salt and we dissolve the salt in 5 cups of water, and we stir it well to completely dissolve it. And then we take a cup of that brine and we mix in a 1/2 cup of miso. So you dissolve miso in a cup of the brine. Okay. And then we strain the seaweed that's been soaking for 1/2 an hour or so by now. It takes a while to roast the rice bran. And we take the water from the seaweed, and we add that. We strain out the seaweed water and put it in the brine. And then let's see. Okay, so once we have our dissolved miso, our dissolved salt, and the water from the soaked kombu, we mix it in with the rice bran. Okay, so we mix it in, make sure that there aren't any dry spots left in the rice bran. And then you transfer that rice bran into the container that you're going to use to make or to store your Nuka bed in. And I had to go and buy a special container because I needed something with a lid that was big enough. But they actually have Nuka Doku containers. I don't know if you can find them in the States. I looked on Amazon. They were really expensive. They're basically ceramic rectangular containers that are rather high, and then they have a lid that seals on. Anyways, mix your rice bran and all the liquid and the miso and so on really well so that there's no more dry in the rice bran. And then you put them in your container. Put them in this container. I put the mixture in this container. Sorry. And then you take your kombu. Now you've got, okay, this is done now. Now you've got your wet bran. Oh, and also I forgot, you also add, that helps with the fermentation and also gives it flavor. Okay, so then you take your kombu and you bury it into the Nuka bed. And I also had a red pepper, bury that in the Nuka bed. And I also had some ginger. I buried that and then cut up into small chunks, buried that into the Nuka bed. And then you also add some vegetable scraps. So these vegetables, in the beginning, you're
Nope, you're frozen.
but I use some turnip, bury them in the Nuka bed, and then leave it covered at room temperature overnight. And then for the first 5 days or so, you remove the vegetables. So the next day you're going to remove those vegetable scraps, and you can taste them if you like. They're not going to taste like anything in the beginning. And then after 5 days, when the vegetables start to taste more sour, you don't have to do that every day. You can put your vegetables in and then leave them in there for a day, or you have to taste them a day or two until they become tasty and sour, and then they're ready to eat. And this Nuka bed took about 2 weeks at room temperature. The temperature here hasn't been that. I kept it in my kitchen. The temperature hasn't been really warm here. So it took 2 weeks, I think, to develop this. And so it'll develop like, it's got a really nice aroma. It smells like, it's got an umami smell and a fermented smell, and also kind of a really earthy smell as well. But anyways, you keep tasting the vegetables to see if they're to your liking. And then it's ready. And so you can start using your Nuka pickles. And this Nuka bed can be used indefinitely. Okay. You just keep adding your pickles. And my sister-in-law was just here for lunch today. She's Japanese. And she said that her grandparents had a Nuka pot, I guess, and with a wooden cover, and they made Nuka pickles all the time, and they ate them, and they were delicious. And then when her grandparents passed away, an uncle continued making the bran pickles, and her cousin would come over once a week to bring the family rice bran pickles. So this is this is different from sauerkraut or kimchi or miso even. It's maybe more, no, I'm going to say it's not really similar to miso. You don't have to put the sake in. You don't have to put the red pepper in. You don't have to put the ginger in. You can once you get a feel for this bed and what the tastes are like, you can use whatever vegetables that you like or whatever seasonings.
Mm.
What's the word, complementary take. The hard part is that you have to take care of it. Like it's like a baby. Every day you have to stir it, make sure the bacteria at the bottom of the rice bran bed is different than the bacteria that develops at the top. So you have to always combine it. And they have all these scientific names for the bacteria and what they're good for in your body. So this rice bran bread creates a really huge variety of bacteria, and probably that I never eat I've never eaten rice bran pickles a products that you probably haven't been exposed to. So I think it's a really in the refrigerator that will slow down the fermentation process and it'll be fine. And then just take it out when you come home and continue stirring it every day, adding vegetables. So when you add your vegetables, sorry, after the initial fermentation period, after you've been using your Nuka brand bed for a while, when you add your vegetables, you're going to add a tiny bit of salt on the outside.
Oh, you keep,
That you put in here will absorb the salt. So then your bed is gonna, create mold. And from time to time, you might, if you're using sake, you might want to stir in a little bit of sake. And also it could get wet because of the type of vegetables that you're putting in the rice bran bed. The rice bran bed might get too moist. So you can add some bran from time to time because this is going to disintegrate, right? With the vegetables taking out the salt and so on. So you want to replenish that. Replenish your kombu, replenish your daikon or your red pepper, or I guess you could even put garlic in here if that was to your liking. So the hard part of this is that you have to take care of it. And I've tried making Nuka brand pickle beds in the past, and then I failed because I went out of town and I forgot about it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's it really takes mindfulness, and it also what's the word? Creates mindfulness because you have to pay attention to this every day. And it will show, if you do decide to do this, it'll show you how far away you are from mindfulness, depending on how successful you are at taking care of this. It's like, remember those little toys the kids had, those Japanese things they had to take care of, they had to feed them 3 times a day. What are they called? Anyway, it's kind of the same thing. And it's like taking care of a baby. And these last for generations, right? They're handed down from, from parents to children, from grandparents and so on. So that's about it. Any questions?
that was really wonderful, Alice. Your internet sort of stops and starts, but we got the gist of, we could understand what you were saying. If anybody has any questions, they can type them in the chat or just raise your hand, unmute you.
Also, if you're going to do this, go on YouTube. There's people showing how to make
Your voice now is not working too well.
I don't know what's
Your microphone. Like the volume. Maybe if I mute you and then unmute you, I don't know. Okay, if you want to hit unmute. Brian just put in the chat, the digital Japanese pets Alice mentioned were called Tamagotchis. Oh, Alice. Now we don't hear you at all. Patricia Spaniel wants to know, is this how TAC1 pickles are made? Garbly. It's like garble.
this better?
Yeah, that's better. Little better. No, can't hear you. Maybe it's just your Wi-Fi.
To me, it sounds like she's talking underwater.
It's
Okay, well,
all garbly. You know what? You want to try logging off and calling me? Or just muting and, why don't you mute and call me? In the meantime, Patricia, yes, that's how Tac One are made. And then you could call me on my cell phone and then I'll put you through the volume. In the meantime, okay. I'm gonna turn up your volume. Am I echoing?
no, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, it's not gonna work.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll ask to unmute. In the meantime, anybody else want to talk or have questions, general questions? Just about pickles?
I had some questions specific to the class. Um, does one type of miso work better than another kind, like white miso versus barley miso?
And Alice, you can answer in the chat.
Okay. Fine.
Alice said that cucumber pickles taste delicious. They look delicious. So what was your question, Brian? Oh, what
That's
kind of meat?
yeah. I'm putting it in the chat just so it's maybe in the transcript.
She says she's not sure. I'm sure that the miso you use will make a difference. I would stick to the lighter miso.
So like a white miso or chickpea.
A lighter pizza.
Mhm.
Okay. And then also instead of the sake, can you use mirin? But that's a
Yeah.
lot of mirin. That's a lot of mirin too.
You want to
Hmm.
type it? Sorry. Um, yeah, I was curious because long time ago we made Nuka brand pickles. We just used salt and the brand. So it's interesting how you're using the miso, the kombu, and the sake. But Alice said lots of recipes omit the sake.
Yeah, if this recipe is coming from Sandor, he's not necessarily a macrobiotic purist either. And then I had a question about I think maybe it was in Aveline's one of her cookbooks. She talks about using Napa cabbage,
Mm.
and I've never tried it, but I always thought that the more flimsy part of the cabbage, I always wondered how that would pickle versus the more solid part.
Yeah, we used to layer them with Napa leaves, and they just get real bendable. Um,
So the
what
central core,
Alice says.
the harder central core gets more bendable.
The whole leaf gets bendable. And then you have to watch because Napa puts so much water into the rice bran. And then you have the problem where the rice bran gets too wet and not,
Mm.
salty enough to pickle the vegetable. My experience with Nuka pickles was I always failed at them because they turned out so salty because my bran was so salty, but somehow I wasn't making the bed correctly. Alice said you can use Napa cabbage. It'll pickle more quickly than green cabbage. Whole leaf gets bendable and watch the water, like Sherry said.
Mm.
And you do want to rinse them all. I mean, you don't want to go crazy eating tons of Nuka pickles either because they can get super salty. And then you're stuck with. That's nice. This is all stuff you learn if you take care of your pickles every day. You'll figure it out. And make sure to rinse the pickles and remove the excess bran and sea salt.
Hmm.
We also used to do amasaki pickles. We used to buy those all the time. So there was like a piece of daikon soaked in amasaki and sea salt. Mm.
Did it make it more sweet or?
Yeah, there's like a sweet taste to them. Usually they came in little packages, just like the daikon Nuka pickles.
Hmm.
We used to buy them in the health food store in Philadelphia, Essene. You don't see them anymore. I mean, I think you can still get Taquan because we just ordered it for Calavi. Um, but you can't really get other rice bran pickles anymore in packages. Mike, did you have any questions? I know you guys are making rice bran pickles there. You have to unmute. Alice says you can find all kinds of ways to make pickles on YouTube. When I was researching Nuka pickles, I found all kinds of interesting pickles. Try the Japanese YouTubers for recipe ideas.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Yeah, we do the straight sauerkraut. You know, just the salt pickles. But because, as you say, it takes a lot of attention. You see, to mix the Nuka. But we've got wheat bran that's available to us also. So one day when we feel in an attentive mood, we'll do that.
So you would make the wheat bran pickles the same way as the rice bran pickles?
Yeah, see if that recipe is adapted.
Sweet. Didn't you make them, Mike, up in French Meadow, like when Cornelia Hara made them? She was
Right.
Mhm.
Right. But here, we've got a ton of stuff that we're doing. And Alice says, you've got that mindfulness question. It's very meditative, right? And so that's something that requires a different level of attentiveness.
It's like making sourdough for your sourdough bread.
Right. You can hardly walk to the neighbor and say, let me have a little bit of your starter.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, Alice. You don't know how long your Nuka bed will last. But you're very brave to do it and to see how it turns out.
Pickles are delicious because they don't just have a salt taste, they have like other taste.
A little salt.
Salt, little. I don't know. It's a different taste.
Different taste.
Yeah, any more questions?
Any more questions? Anything general questions? While Alice is on, she's really good at teaching Python. We've been doing Zooms with her every week. I'm going to just stop the recording and then we can just talk generally.